Hello everybody, it's Alex Aquarius here. Thank you for coming to the Plain Mundane show. I have claimed a new URL address. My custom URL is The Truthivist. Alex Aquarius, The Truthivist. I think there are a couple of other Alex Aquariuses on YouTube, but I am The Truthivist. The Truthivist. Look at that glare on my shoulder here. What am I? Watch. Remember that alien that got caught on the hunting camera? It's all white. Oh, that's how my brain works. I'm sorry. So, I just thought I would give you an update. Let you know what's going on. Let me check my sound. Yes, it's on. If you've noticed lately, I put up more videos because what I just got a camera. I got a Nikon Coolpix. And a tripod. I want a better tripod. This one's when it's windy, this one shakes. And I need to find something to cover the microphone because I'm getting a lot of wind noise. So if you saw, this is why I have a lot of sun now on me, because I've been outside. I'm outside shooting all the time. And so if you've come to my channel and you know me and you've heard me, you're more used to hearing my voice because I read articles and I just post the thumbnail shot. And I do that on purpose, so you can go about and clean your house or whatever you want to do. You can just put on my video. I try to keep them around 10 minutes or less. You don't have to watch me. Once you see the picture, you know what the video is about, and then I just read. I thought what I would do is just create a couple of hundred videos that way and spread out the topics and then see what hit, you know. It's kind of like throwing the spaghetti against the wall. And I'm getting a better idea of what I do, what's more my passion, what subjects I like better. And I'm also learning, you know, as far as YouTube is concerned, which ones you can monetize easier. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm here to make money. If this is my passion, I'm going to spend the hours video editing, recording, and reading, and doing research, and traveling, and spending gas, and things I'm going to do here in the future. I want to make some money at it because I don't want to have to get a full-time job. I've already worked 20-something years in my career, and right now I'm living on some dividend income, actually. It's not that much. I have to scrimp by every month. A part-time job would be nice, or some extra income streams. But I don't have to work full-time. I don't have any debt. I don't have a credit card. I don't have a car payment. I have 4 children that are already grown. Everybody's out on their own doing their own thing. All 4 of my boys are in their 20s right now. So let's see. Today I just went out. I'm uploading this video right now. Yesterday I went out to the bay and I was filming oil tankers at 6 miles, which I figured out the curvature drop would be 24 feet, and I was trying to see if you could see the hull of the ship disappeared by 24 feet. I did notice there is an illusion of the water that's nearest to you. You can tell because the fish are jumping and the size and shape of the chop waves. It's the water closest to you that rises up and makes a line and blocks out things that are at a distance. But when you zoom out all the way to the ship, that goes away. So that's a visual illusion. The globe earth believers that say that the surface of the earth rises up between you and what you're between A. Have you seen that curvature calculator that's online? That's wrong because it says between point A and B there's a rising curve. That's not true. Because if you turned around in 360 degrees, you would have a pit, a toroidal, like the top of a donut or a bagel, that you'd be standing in a pit the whole time, but it would only appear physical when you perceived it or thought about it. Kind of like the dual slit experiment where they're trying to locate an electron and found out they're probably tangent points on a membrane and not actually dots that fly around in orbits. But anyway, but they tend to change their location depending on whether you're observing them or not. That's about what that theory is, where the surface of the earth rises between point A and point B. That's not true. If you were on a ball, you're going to be tangent to the core and perpendicular to the surface. No matter where you're at, the surface would fall away from you. Anyway, so I'm overcoming that visual illusion and finding out by the fish jumping and the chop wave forms that it's actually the water that's closest to you within the first mile, half a mile when you're zooming, that goes up and makes that line you see. But you can zoom right past it. So today I go out, I'm trying to think, I filmed the Enterprise at Space Center Houston yesterday, the shuttle, and did a story on Francis Bacon, who penned the sentence in a secret letter, a Columbian enterprise to endeavor for the discovery of Atlantis and all challengers be destroyed. And which one was destroyed? The Challenger. Later the Columbia. But a Columbian enterprise is a Freemasonic enterprise. Columbia, as in the Statue of Liberty, as in Isis, as in Ishtar, as in the mother of Tammuz, the wife of Baal, the sun god, paganism, Columbian, with a U, not Colombian with an O. My Colombian friends out there. Oh, I'd like to live in Colombia. So I went out today, and I live really close to the Space Center. I live by the on Saturn. Actually, if you hear a car noise, that's on Saturn. So I go to film Little Joe 2, the little rocket that was, I think, the first manned rocket in the Gemini program, from the back of my neighborhood. So I measured on Google Maps the distance, and it was 5,157.59 feet. And a mile is 5,280 feet, right? And so what I did was I divided that and got 0.976, and I times that times 8 inches and found out I should see a 7.8 inch drop to the foundation of where Little Joe's sitting on its stand by the Saturn V rocket barn right at Rocket Park. And I was going to try to find curvature over less than a mile using NASA, which is federally controlled property and has a fence that I was filming. Let me show you this picture. This is funny. If you see right there, that sign says controlled area under surveillance. You know, they probably were watching me from a drone at any time. They probably could have hit me with one of those blue beams, and I would have been fried, like those California fires from not space, high altitude drone, under an Obama executive order, 13603 or something like that. So this is Little Joe 2, the rocket, and that's the Mercury rocket, the smaller one there. And I think first manned space flight was Mercury. I don't know, I can't remember it. Not important right now. So anyway, this is the map. I'll show you what I did. This is the street behind my neighborhood. This is Saturn. Here's the Space Center Houston Museum where the shuttle is. I just put up the Independence video yesterday. Here's where Johnson Space Center is, Rocket Park. There's Little Joe 2. And I measured actually the distance from the back of this neighborhood to where I parked my car, and I put the tripod on the top of my car. And this lady came up, and she had a big stick in her hand. And there was a house nearby, the closest house at this corner. She was walking in her driveway checking her garage door to make sure it wouldn't go up and it was locked. And she came walking towards me, and I asked her, I said, do you know if you can ever see the base, that yellow base of that rocket over there? And she goes, yeah, when the grass is low or whatever she said. But at first she goes, I can't hear you. And she had headphones in her head, and we talked, and it's in the video that I'm uploading right now. You're going to see it later. It's called Little Joe Flat Earth Fail. And then the alternative title will be How to Pick Up Gilfs While Videotaping Surveilled Federal Property or something like that. I'm zooming right through the fence of Johnson Space Center to the Little Joe rocket past the sign that says controlled area under surveillance. And I'm thinking of just like Zarqawi driving his car in Afghanistan or something. So anyway, another thing just to update you, what happened? This lady, when I'm talking to her on the camera, she's telling me, go down Saturn and pull over off the side of the road and you get a better view of that rocket. I said, okay, thank you. And she goes, then go down to NASA Road 1, turn right, and go to Lookout Point across the street, and you'll see those jet planes. And I grew up around here, you know, astronauts flying overhead all the time in their trainer, the T-38. So I said, they're little tiny white planes, and it's the two that are coming up out of the ground in front of the Space Center Houston. And she goes, "You want to get a picture of those airplanes? That's where people take the picture of that airplane." And I said, "You mean the T-38s?" And she goes, she goes, "I don't know, maybe the 5.62. I don't have any idea." And she touched my butt. we laughed and talked, but I'm telling you guys, if you want to break barriers with gilfs, laughter is the best medicine. That just opens barriers, drops the barriers, opens the gates, the floodgates. So anyway, that was funny. But today, just now when I was filming, I filmed another version of this and it got goofed, but my brother called. Now, I was going to call my mother. I actually have a friendly abduction story that's starting to come out of a repressed memory, both. I was about 6 or 7 years old, and my mother came in my room and said, "Come on out and come look in the yard." We went out the front door into the yard. There was a craft on the ground. I thought this was a dream. I had this vivid recurring dream as a kid. And then I just had it again last year. And we didn't fly off anywhere. It was all rainbow colored underneath, and I went up the ramp and I walked in. I remember I turned right. I was shown all of these screens, and at the very end they showed me like a pen. It was just like, it's starting to all come back to me. It was just like Men in Black when they pull out that pen looking thing that zaps the beam and nobody remembers. That might actually be real, and that might have actually been used on me. Some kind of technology like that. But I remember looking at that and then not remembering anything they showed me on a screen or what they looked like or what I was told. But I remember going in, and I was telling my mother the story about this lucid dream that keeps reoccurring, and I wanted to ask her if I ever talked about it as a little kid. And when I first started telling the story, she just nodded like this, and she goes, "I waited for you for what seemed like forever outside that ship." And I was like, "What?" And she's almost 80, and she has some memory problems right now that are affecting her, because I can show her things. I show her things on YouTube, and I'll come over the next day and say, "Hey, you remember that thing yesterday?" And she remembers long-term memory things, but the short-term memory is starting to fail. But I want to see if maybe I can set up my tripod, take my cool pics over there, and we will tell the story together, and I'll tell what I remember and she can tell what she remembers. And that might be interesting. So I call over there to see what she's doing, and if we can set up a time, I can go over there and visit her, and we'll do this and maybe film it. And my stepdad, who worked at NASA for 43 years, there's a lot of story there. He and I argued about the moonrise, the Earthrise photo. It's probably the most infamous and notorious photoshopped composite image on the internet today in social media. And he was, "I've got a picture on my wall when I worked at Lockheed from the Earth rising from standing on the moon, taking a picture." And I said, "That's CGI." He was not happy. And every time I tell him something about NASA or things that I'm questioning, he says, "That's impossible. I worked with good people." And he says that over and over again. No matter what I'm telling him, the argument ends with, "I worked with good people." I'm sure he did work with good people. Nobody knows. It's only the handlers that are at the top of the pyramid that move vehicles from one base or center to another, or send an order to empty a container in Houston that comes from Alabama from something that came through Florida. People don't know. They're just doing their jobs, and it's so segmented. It's like the military. It is the military. It's the Department of Defense. Anyway, I'm off track. So my stepdad says, "No, your brother's over here, and your mother's showing him genealogy and some things that she's got." I said, "Oh, I don't want to interrupt him." But my brother doesn't talk to me. I was Mormon. I was LDS, and he's very active LDS, And I've told him some things that I found. I was invited to be a Freemason. I started studying it, and I found books online and lodges, like Morals and Dogma, the Scottish Rite, and I read other books that were in the library that weren't locked. Online I was just flipping through, scrolling through pages, and I found the mentor of Brigham Young University I went to. I found the mentor of Brigham Young was a Jesuit missionary from St. Louis who was an explorer who found the Salt Lake Valley and told Brigham Young where to go. So when the most famous line from Brigham Young is when he crossed the point of the mountain and he saw the Ensign Peak and the Salt Lake, and he said, "This is the place." And then in parentheses that Peter told me about. It was Peter Desmet, the Jesuit explorer. So I found out in this book that his mentor was Albert Pike's mentor was Peter Desmet, and then it said, and also Brigham Young, and I was like, wow. So I've told my brother that. He's, I don't want to hear it, I don't have time. And since I started waking him up to things that I was researching about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe longer than that, maybe 4 years, he doesn't call me, he doesn't talk to me, he doesn't even answer my emails, my texts. And he just called me about 30 minutes ago because he knows I called, and now he knows I know he's there. But he didn't call to tell me he was coming. And I don't want to interrupt his visit from out of state with my mother. He can stay there a week. I'm not going to come by. I'm not going to call. Should I do that? I don't, I think he works for the CIA anyway. I interviewed with the CIA twice. If you go to BYU and you speak other languages and you're LDS, you're like a stock target for them. They love to hire us. I talked to them once on the BYU campus, and another time when I lived in Illinois. I actually talked to somebody. I couldn't tell if they were male or female. It was a robot voice disguiser. And they said, if you don't call us back at this time appointed, we will destroy your file. And I didn't call them back. It wasn't enough money at the time. It was only less than half what I was already making. So I was not interested. And I would have had to have gone to Virginia, done some training, and then been for about a year, I think. It was a year to a year and a half. Then for the basic CIA training, and then gone to my overseas covert assignment. And I just was not interested. Main reason being money. So my brother, about 2.5 years ago, says, "Hey, I might work." He was flipping houses, and he's an IT data collector. And he has been working for some petroleum companies and contractor. He does his own contracting at a scale rate. And he got tired of flipping houses, and he put his resume out there, and he got contacted by them. So he was all excited. I said, "Look, don't do it." I said, I've done a lot of research on this. I know what I'm telling you. I said, "I've interviewed with them twice." He goes, "No, you haven't." I said, "Where do you get that? Just to tell me, no, I haven't. You think I'm lying to you? Like I'm just making that up? You think you're the only person that can interview with them?" And so he said, I said, "Don't do it." I said, "You're going to get into something where you're going to have to swear to secrecy. You're going to be doing things you don't like. You're going to be probably aware of things that you can't talk about with people. It's just going to be an uncomfortable life. When you find out who you're working for, you're not going to like it at all, and you may not be able to get out." I said, "So just don't go in." And he just looked at me like, "What? Serving your country, man, that'd be so exciting. What could be more exciting than working for them, So then he gets a job in IT working in up on the East Coast. And he does 6-month contract, and I called him one day and I asked his wife where he's at, and he's in Washington, D.C. for some training. Then he goes out on another job in New Jersey for 3 or 4 months, and that ends, and he's back in D.C. for some more training. And I'm like, he's an IT contractor, and these are different companies in different states, and he's supposedly looking for a new contract between jobs. But why does he keep going back to the same place for training? I mean, it's obvious to me who he works for now. So another reason why I don't want to talk to him, I'm not going to answer the call. You guys comment below if you think I'm wrong, but he didn't tell me he was coming here. He doesn't like to talk to me. He doesn't answer my emails, never calls, doesn't answer my texts, doesn't like to talk about what I talk about, thinks I'm crazy. And now that he knows that I know he's here, he's probably going to call me and invite me to go to dinner or want to go with Mom somewhere. And I just don't want to interrupt him besides that, So that's about it. That's another reason why, folks, I use the name Alex Aquarius. Of course, that's not my real name, but I would never use my real name. I've got too many real stories, people I've worked for, infamous people from Loose Change that know me personally, infamous people that are trillionaires that know me, infamous people that run all of the drugs in this country that know me. I just could not get on a channel and say all of the things that I do. say and feel this. Now they can figure out who I am. They've got all the way, but my subs and my audience can. But I fully know well, they can tie in through Google all my accounts and know exactly who I am and where I'm sitting right now at this moment. So anyway, I thought I'd give you an update, tell you what Alex Aquarius is doing. Look for some better videos coming. Once I've got my 3 cameras going and I learn how to shoot some B-roll and edit and put in some music on some parts, I'm going to start looking like a professional video vlogger, and that's what I want to do. Doing some other things. I've written some books I've published and things like that, but I want to be a video vlogger. The truthivist. So thank you for coming to Plain Mundane Show. Please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I'm out.